Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2020 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGillivray Speedway at 30th and High School. Tonight's show is presented, as always, by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, and SVRA. Founded in 1993 to spearhead Honda's entry into IndyCar racing, Honda Performance Development has overseen successful racing efforts at all levels of the sport, from karting and quarter midgets to IndyCar and prototype sports cars. HPD offers race engines and competition parts for professional, amateur, and entry-level racers. For more information about HPD and the company's racing products, please visit their website at hpd.honda.com. Got a couple of announcements for those of you who want to realize how old we're getting. Jimmy Kite's birthday is today. And also, it was 19 years ago today that Dale Earnhardt lost his life. And it's going to be announced tomorrow, I'm quite certain, that Hinch will be driving for Andretti Autosport. So at least you won't have to... 500 or? I don't know. It's the announcement's tomorrow. I want to remind you, if you have dental problems, everybody loves to go to the dentist. Well, you will if you go to the Indy Dental Group. Dr. Jack Miller and Dr. Liz Lewis have phenomenal practice. If you got a problem, give them a call, make an appointment. 317-846-6125. And we have a new computer guy, A-plus affordable computer doctor. It's Steve Freeze. Something new. If you got a problem you can't get there, he'll come to you. He makes house calls. His number is 317-328-0766. My two guests tonight are, it seemed to me, and I just commented to Dalton about that I think in the last 3 or 4 years they've been attached at the hip. Because whenever I've seen one, there's the other one trailing along behind. Sitting the farthest away is a veteran. He spent his early years, he started karting at age 10. Won some championships in Europe, decided, oh, heck, they got McDonald's, more McDonald's in America, let's go there. And he did well there. He drove for Chip Ganassi and he drove for AJ Foyt. And he decided it was time to retire and go into business. He went to the East Coast, and I don't think lasted 2 years. He sold the business and he came back, strangely enough. And he has what's called iAdvance Motorsports up on the north side. It's what, 62 and 60? And Guyan Road. He took actual race car tubs and made simulators out of them. If you want to go up and take a look at it, go to his website. You'll see where it is. Go up and check it out. It's really quite interesting. But he has agreed to come here tonight and talk about the advancement of his protege. Please welcome Mr. Darren Manning. And the young man sitting next to me has something that most of us in the room probably have, a degree in engineering physics. I don't even know how to spell it. But he's been driving in the Road to Indy program and the Indy Lights for, I think, what, 4 years? And has learned all the tracks, so he should have no problem with that. And he's signed this year to drive the car that Tony won't be in when he runs ovals. He's going to be running, I don't know, 12, 13, I guess, road street courses for the one and only AJ Foy. Please welcome Mr. Dalton Kellett. Dalton, was there any connection from your mentor next to you and getting a ride at AJ?
Well, I think the initial conversations definitely started between Darren and Larry, but yeah, no, the dialogue there's been going on for the last year or so, and just very excited for the opportunity to get to represent AJ in the number 14.
You were at COTA. Was that the first time you've been in an IndyCar, or have you been in prior?
No, back when I was testing, or when I was racing with Andretti in Lights, I tested the 28 and 26 cars.
I have been told by numerous youngins making their way up, and I think I saw today that of the 28 cars, drivers that are entered currently in the 526 have come through Indy Lights. The guys have said it's easier to drive an Indy car than a Lights car.
Yeah, that was actually a conversation that came up at COTA. It's the IndyCar overall is a lot more drivable. The car, you can be a little more aggressive with it and kind of mold it to what you want. Yeah.
Have you found any objection? Now, I put out what Steve Wiedig from Trackside Online put out about what the drivers said about it, and I got a response saying, well, what else do you think they'd say? Well, you drove one. Did you have any horrendous problem? You went, geez, I can't drive this.
No, I think the Lights car is overall a good training tool. The only gripe I have is that they don't do pit stops in the road to Indy. And I think when you jump up to IndyCar, that's a skill that is, for some guys it's totally new. But as far as the car and the driving, you're on the same tracks. It's a competitive series, so no major complaints really.
Did you have any trouble with the aero screen?
I think the adaptation to the screen and the halo piece under it was fairly easy. We didn't have to raise the seat or do anything like that, and within the first few laps you didn't think it was there. And then I think the only question mark will be how does it perform in the glare when we have transition from day to night for some of the oval races.
And unfortunately, Mother Nature said, we're going to give you Wednesday off. And Sebastian Bourdais drove your car for a few laps. I forget how many you went, and made the comment that AJ has brought in some people, and Larry have brought in some people that know what they're doing. After you got a chance to get in the car, and certainly nowhere near the laps you wanted, were you comfortable? Was it a comfortable fit? Was the car performing the way you like it?
Well, a few laps. I think Sebastian was hogging the car for most of the day. I just hopped in for the last hour to get some track time, and obviously not what we wanted. We would have liked the whole day, but it was good to get the experience, and the track was still drying, and we didn't really get a good crack at it, but definitely looking forward to getting back in.
When will you test again, and where?
We'll be heading to Sebring in a couple weeks here.
And then you go from Sebring to St. Petersburg, in which you will not be driving.
No, I'll be spectating for that one.
Well, it's poor Sebastian's, it's hometown. The least they can do is run there. Are you happy with driving only street and road courses?
Well, we also have the Indy 500 as the.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. There is
third
a 500
car, so we just got that little one in there. But no, I think it's a great opportunity to just be in the car. I can't complain at all. No.
Darren, you have been with him and helping him along along the way, and I've asked you on several occasions when I'd see you very quietly, is he ready? And you said, absolutely. You believe he's where he should be and can handle even AJ yelling?
Yeah, he even got a thumbs up from AJ on his first pit exit coming out of the box. He didn't stall, he just peeled out just like he was meant to be there, and I was sat next to AJ like I am Dalton in the timing stand. He give me a big elbow and he gave me a thumbs up like this. He enjoys that kind of stuff. Some teams, the Andretti stable, they might have gone, oh, don't break the drive shafts or something maybe, but AJ was loving it. So no, it's nice to see him. He was comfortable straight away, debriefing, driving the car, going through wet patches. It was very, very treacherous conditions.
And I was watching.
At Coda. I'm sure the live stream was great. But, Sebastian, you've got guys like Sebastian who know what the car will do when it comes the other side of the wet with his experience. So just those half a dozen laps for Dalton, it was nice to see. He didn't put a foot wrong, and he gelled perfectly with the team.
Does AJ come around? Have you spent a lot of time since you signed on with him down in Texas?
Well, actually, since I signed the deal, the first time that I actually spoke to AJ was down at the test. I had met him in years past, just kind of in passing at the track. I think we ran into him at dinner in St. Pete last year. Yeah. He was giving Darren a hard time about something.
Really?
Shocking.
Can't imagine why.
But no, he was. I think as far as a team leader and a mentor for the whole program, he was very forthcoming and just giving lots of advice and encouragement as far as what they wanted. The test and all that. No, it was good.
Did he mention that when Darren drove for him, he gave him advice? Darren didn't listen. Did he say anything about that?
No, I didn't bring that up.
He said he pulled a gun on me most times. That's another story. He was more talking about a gate that was broken at his lake house that he needed to go fix or something. No, it was great. It was there all the time, wasn't he? Talking with the team and the engineers and just telling stories to me and Dalton's dad and Dalton about how the team's changed throughout the years, and he really likes where it is now. I think that's really what Sebastian was saying, I believe.
Yeah, he said they really got some people now that give you the car you want, and they understand what you need. The thing, I've mentioned this 100 times, You can get in a car and drive and say, man, this is great. Darren get in a car and say, gee, many Christmas, how can you possibly drive this? The driving style.
I hope he doesn't say that, because I'm teaching him how to drive how I drove.
But drivers have different styles and different things. Is there a track that you run on, and you run on everything they run now, I think, that you like better than another, other than the Speedway?
Yeah, other than Indy, I mean, and just to backtrack, the only track I haven't raced on is Detroit, which I'll be doing the doubleheader there, so that'll be a bit of an experience. But all the other tracks I've been to, I love the street courses. I think Toronto is one of my best tracks, and it's my hometown, so really looking forward to that race. Yeah.
Oh, you think you'll have any fans come and visit?
It'll be a busy weekend, yeah. Lots of friends and family and everyone.
When you go home, does the media, the sports people come and talk to you and interview you, and so are they kept up to speed with what you're doing?
Yeah, we have a dedicated, kind of racing sports media group, kind of group in Toronto that keeps tabs of all the Canadian drivers that are abroad or in country. But it is a big market, so we have to fight for the coverage. Yeah.
It should help now. We know we're having a really serious push. Obviously, this is a limited program this year for Dalton, but having a really serious marketing and branding, media push for Dalton to try and help raise sponsors for next year. So I think now that he's in IndyCar, that was a bit of a struggle when you're competing against Hinch. As a fellow Canadian, he's in IndyCar and we're in Indy Lights that doesn't get much coverage.
Well, I'd have given you coverage and people can listen in. What got you started in driving race cars? You got a college degree in engineering physics. First off, is there any connection between that and a race car? Does that help understanding, the various things you have to understand with suspension and so forth?
It is, yeah. It's been a great help for me during my whole career and just life in general. But I think as far as a driver, I bring a more kind of calculated, analytical approach to what we're doing, which especially on the ovals, I think is really important. When you're going around Indy or Iowa or Gateway, it's very much a science experiment. You have to get the car right. But I do think that it helps, but it's just, there's also the other side of it is knowing when to be the driver and not the engineer. And I think that's the balance you have to kind of draw there.
Darren, when you started racing in Europe, England, what was your goal? I mean, and why did you start? At 10 years old today is kind of old. I saw a kid that is in the Sarah Fisher Hartman development program. He's 12 now, but he's been driving since he was 6. We had 4 years on you. But when you started, was your goal at one point saying, Formula One, I got to get there, or I'd like to run the 500?
Well, I think, I didn't really know the American scene too much in my junior, career, let's say. 10 was the minimum age to start karting back then, so it was like that was what we were stuck with. I was driving motorbikes and, go-karts on airfields and things like that at earlier age than that, but no, it was always to Formula One. That was, there's a huge racing scene in Europe. A lot of non-European drivers, i.e. the South Americans, will come over to England to race. It's a very competitive. It's the oldest kind of feeder series in the world. You can live anywhere in the UK and be within a 5-hour radius of every racetrack there is out there, and they're all very, very good because they've been around for so long and had a lot of money pumped into them. So all the best drivers generally used to go there. Now with the Road to Indy success over the last several years, you're seeing quite a change. And
you're not kidding.
Yeah, in those huge fields, I think you've seen, Dalton, some 20 plus, 30 plus fields with a good prize money. So there's now the British scene and there's the American scene to come up. And when I got closer to Formula One, the Zanardis and those guys, it was good late night TV watching on Sunday evenings after a boring Formula One race, with 2 McLarens going off and winning everything, and then you put Zanardi going through the grass and the gravel at Laguna to overtake people. It was really entertaining as a racer, but it didn't get much traffic in the UK, so didn't really know too much about it.
But it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's huge over there. A lot of British, drivers, European drivers are seeing this as a valid route to a top level championship, with McLaren coming in to IndyCar. You know, there's 27 cars at Coda or something as a preseason test. It's crazy.
You know, I find it interesting that Marcus made the comment that he loves it here because in Formula One, which is nice, he said, I wasn't going to win the mid-pack, period.
Not unless you're in a Mercedes or a Ferrari, maybe.
And he wasn't.
Yeah.
So coming here, there's 12, 14 cars that are perfectly capable of winning on any given race day.
Yep. And
one of them's you.
Yeah, no, that's the goal for this year. We want to be competing. We want to put the number 14 at the front of the pack, and the team has done a great job bringing on, as you mentioned, the right people to give us the tools that we need to be successful.
Have you worked with any of the guys that they brought in before, or do you know who some of them are?
I know some of them, but I haven't worked with anyone directly.
Well, go ahead.
It was a bit close. You worked semi with Mike Pawlowski at the Andretti stable. He did some engineering on the lights programs when we were running out of engineers, or one was stuck in New Zealand or something. And then I've worked with Mike Colliver, who's come back from Schmidt Racing, and Scott Harner. He's running the shop here in town. Obviously, he was a Ganassi back when I was, and been there for many years. So it's not only what they're bringing; it's the communication between them all, isn't it, Dalton? It's a very nice atmosphere. I think was maybe missing for them the last few years.
Did you find that you communicate with your engineer well? That you too, when you tell him something's not right, and he can see you're right, you're spot on.
We, given the hour of track time, it's I can't really give an accurate answer to that. But no, from what I've seen, and being on the timing stand, listening with Bourdais when he was driving, I think the team as a whole is communicating very well, and I like the engineer that I'm paired with, so I think it'll be good going forward.
Has Tony been snibbling at all, or is he helping you?
No, Tony's been great. So we both train at Pitfit Training.
He hasn't dropped a weight on your foot or anything.
No,
yet,
he hasn't or knocked me over on the bike or anything. So, no, he's been very encouraging, and I think this program we're all kind of helping each other. So it's come together nicely.
Who is your sponsor, by the way? You said you're working on for next year getting something put together. Who's sponsoring you this year?
So for this year, we're working with K-Line Insulators USA, who's K-Line Insulators.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who's been for the last for all of my career.
Oh really?
Yeah, and we're working. We're going to be starting the season with them, and we're actively working to bring on more partners to hopefully turn this into a full season sustainable deal for years to come.
Have you had success, or have you tried to get some sponsors from your hometown or from the Toronto area? I said not your hometown necessarily.
That's one of the approaches that we're taking. We've actually brought on a marketing group and a team to help sort of build this whole platform up to help us sell the product, and I think we're going to have some good success there. So stay tuned.
Yes, well, you've got some things going. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Darren, what is it you think that you may have missed, or what, other than winning the 500, of course? I mean, are you happy with your career? I found it kind of interesting when you said, this is it, I put the helmet on the shelf, I'll dust it and move to the East Coast. It didn't take you long to realize, I had a good idea, I want to come back.
Business and employees was not my forte. Well, no, business is okay, but having staff underneath me, I didn't like that. I didn't like people not doing what they were told.
And keep asking you all the time silly questions.
Yeah.
What do we do here? Well, I told you yesterday.
Something like that, yeah.
I see.
No, it was, I did feel maybe like I left quite a bit on the table in my racing career. I thought all my birthdays had come at once when I joined the Ganassi stable in 04. After Scott had won so dominantly in 03 with his Toyota G4, so I'm thinking, I've got Works Toyota backing here, we're going to be on TV commercials, I've got Target sponsorship, this mega team that I've watched for several, dozens of years beforehand. I thought, this is it. And then Honda come back in with a bigger, a better engine package than what we had, and Scott and I are just tooling around to trying to get in the top 10. It was very difficult couple of years, and then obviously Chip had to change over to Hondas, and me and Ryan Briscoe were out the door, and Dan Weldon got in, and then maybe what they'd learned and making the cars go faster was a couple of years. I know I'm crying.
Kind of sad.
It's very sad, isn't it? Yeah. But I'm not. You asked a question.
I know.
So no, yes, I do feel like I left a little on the table, but it's nice having Dalton under my wing to try and help pass the torch on to, and get him back. It's great having him in the 14 car, which was my last car as well.
Oh, what got you in a race car? You went to college, you got a degree. How did you end up driving?
So I actually started karting later than he did. I think I started. I was 13 or 14 years old, back up in Canada, and I just kind of did the regional sort of club series and then the nationals kind of thing, and did a little bit of karting over in Europe, down in the States. And then when I went to college, graduated from high school, then I started to race on the road to Indy. I did a little bit of Formula Ford in Canada, like half a season, but I just kind of progressed up the ranks, and then and if I backtrack quite a ways, I'll have to dig up the home videos at some point. The first thing I ever actually raced was a little Skidoo, and it looks like a little milk carton. It was a 60cc, like a Kawasaki or something.
A true Canadian, right?
Thing,
Skidoo, yeah.
I think my some friends and all of our parents, they put up some old milk cartons, made a little kidney oval track out on a frozen lake, and us at 2 or 3 years old were ripping around the lake. So that was my first race. But if we're talking about real racing, go-karts.
As most moms are a little skittish. Is your mother skittish when you started, or has she accepted it now and this is what he does and he's pretty good at it? Look where he's got.
I mean, I can't speak entirely for her, but from observing and just what people have said, I'm sure she's she paces quite a bit, and I doubt you could ever get rid of the nervousness of having your son go out and do this. But as we've seen in IndyCar and very recently today, yesterday at Daytona, the whole sport has gotten very safe, or much safer than it was even back when you were doing it.
You said that you didn't have a problem, and I alluded to earlier that Steve Weedig had said that. He talked to a number of drivers, and they really didn't have. The only problem that I recall seeing or hearing about was the air movement. They still need to get air into the car when it's 90 degrees, getting hit in the face with 90 isn't that like?
Tell him a bit about the duct and thing.
So in the past, right, our heads have been exposed. In the airstream, we have ducts on the helmets that bring in airflow to cool you down, but with the air screen, that's all gone away, more or less. And they've added some ducting to try to blow some air in, but it's not really enough, so they've now got to scoop off the side of the screen on the other side of the fuel, so if anything happens, you're not inhaling fumes or worse. And that then goes to basically a 3/4 inch hose that goes onto a blower like they have in a closed cockpit car that's attached to your helmet. And the issue we had was that the helmet supplier didn't have the left and right side adapters available. They only had the left side, so we had we kind of had to route it in a weird way, and the hose came off, and you could tell instantly as soon as that. And it wasn't even that hot; it was probably 60 degrees, 65 degrees. So I think that's going to be really important, is making sure that those systems are in place, and that that the drivers are getting airflow through that blower, because if that hose comes off during a run, you'll know instantly.
Have they ever consulted you with your degree and said, "What do you think about what we're doing"?
They haven't called me yet, but maybe
we're going to keep that to ourselves with the team. Don't tell everybody. Yeah. We want an advantage.
What's it like to come in your first, steadying your foot into IndyCar, and you're driving with one of the most famous, most accomplished race drivers in history? He won it. The only thing he didn't win it at boats, I think, and drag racing. He won at everything else. He's still the winningest driver ever, first 4-time winner. What's it like driving for AJ Foy Racing?
Well, he hasn't won at Bumblebees yet either.
Yeah, yeah.
They beat him every time.
No, but yeah, it's an honor. It's I'm so excited to get the opportunity to be there and represent that brand and that his legacy and that team. When the day came that we signed the deal, I was beside myself. It's an amazing honor.
You ever had lunch with him?
Not yet, no.
I think it seems to me that his daily lunch is chicken fried steak or something like that.
Steak and potatoes.
Yeah,
Saves the fat strip for last. All that,
oh, yeah. And you can see it really tends to slender you down, as you can see. I don't have that, though. You know, when I think about having watched you, and I've watched you since you've been in the lights, and I haven't gone to that many races the last couple of years, but fortunately they stream it. I'm not happy, and I had Terry Ligner here last week and told him I wasn't happy the way they do it. They aim the camera somewhere, and then they all go to lunch. And you'll hear Rob Howerton say, there they are, passing us close, and you don't see anything but the straightaway that's empty. He said, well, we don't have enough cameramen. Can't afford it. But some of the stuff they stream, I've been impressed with how you drive and the way you drive. And nothing seems to get scary. You don't get say, oh, I got to back out. This guy's wiggly. You go, you open the door, and you go. So I think it'll be fun to watch you in a bigger car, which seems strange to me. It's easier to drive than a lights car. I find that kind of odd.
I think what you have there is just that everything, the tires, the dampers, the aerodynamics. It's just a more polished car, and that it's not that it's necessarily easier. It's just that the car responds a bit more to what you're telling it to, whereas the lights car maybe needs to be driven a specific way.
Yeah, it's got a limited package, right? Because it's got to be a budget formula. Not that it's terribly budget at $1 million or whatever it is to run a season, but it's got to be fair, I think, right? So they don't have third springs or the sealed shocks, that type of thing. So the setups throughout the paddock are very similar, I feel, and engineers move around or whatever. So it's got to be set up a specific way to be fast. And if you don't like how that is, you're kind of screwed. Whereas in IndyCar, you can make, all the setups up and down the field are different, but they're very specific to the drivers, how they want it.
And the other thing to consider too is that for the lights, they have to do, more or less a stint and a half. If you're looking at what an IndyCar stint would be on one set of tires, we don't do pit stops. So you're starting with a harder compound, which is going to be different than a softer Firestone or alternate tires.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, right? We were at the weekend with Sebastian and Charlie, and they're, bitching and moaning about how the car's doing this or the tires are like this, and Dalton's like, "This is great. They actually work." Because when I leave the pits, they're not rock hard Coopers coming out of the pits on the tires. So he's got a different perspective as a young driver.
Charlie was complaining. He's in a car. He should be here in the next couple of weeks. I'll find out about that one. Well, I know it's been a haul, and you spent probably 1 or 2 more years in lights than you would have liked to. But when you look at it, you're young, and you've got, with the exception of you said one track you've run on them before, so that's to your advantage. And of course, you have Sneaky Pete next to you with his high advantage motorsports, where you can. Have you, I know you have, because I called to see if you guys had come, and you were in the car then. How close is what you see at his shop to what you know that you've driven? Because you've been on the tracks.
Yeah, visually, it's almost identical because it's got a big wraparound screen. The program that we use, iRacing, doesn't have the aero screen yet, so that's a difference, but they have the advanced frontal protection piece they cited last year. What you're missing is all the the feedback of the bumps and the acceleration and all that kind of stuff that you can't really replicate. Even with the big motion sims, it's just never really the exact same.
But when you get out of the thing and you get to the racetrack, you see, I've seen that, I understand it, I know where to.
Yeah, like for instance, I can, and we will be doing this before the race, but I'll be, let's say I do a few hours or a few sessions at Darren's simulator on the Detroit track, and I've never been there. I could show up and jump in the race car and be like, okay, yeah, I remember this corner, and it would all look the same.
It's pretty clever. I don't know. I went up there when he was building this thing, and I walk in, I don't see anybody. I look around, he's on his hands and knees on the floor, putting the floor in. What the hell, can't you? I do. He built the walls, he built the floors, got the tubs, hooked everything up.
I had my kids, Sophia and Ethan, helping me put the flooring in. I'm cheap. I'm cheaper than you, I think.
I doubt that.
No? Okay, all right, maybe not. I did pay him a couple of bucks or a Tootsie Roll.
Right. Yeah, you took him out to McDonald's.
Exactly,
Big spender. Well, listen, I am pleased for you, and I think where you have landed is good. I think from what I've heard, the team has improved dramatically over the last couple of years, and this year they say you're going to be up looking for top 5, top 10 podiums even. I wish you nothing but the best. And of course, I'll probably see you wandering around at St. Pete because you won't be in a car, and strangely enough, neither will I. So we can just kind of walk around and see what's going on. But I wish you nothing but the best. Number 14, you will run all but was it 3 or 4 that Sebastian's running?
Yeah, so I'm in the car from Coda onwards for the road courses, except Portland. He's doing Portland, and then doing the 500 as the third car.
All right. Yeah, that'd be fun. I wish you nothing but the best. I thank you for taking the time to come here and bringing your cohort with you. Since,
Like you said, joined at the hip.
yeah, I guess.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. Dalton Kellett
Don.
and his mentor, Darren Manning.
Thank you,
Look
fella.
for him in the number 14. My next guest will be on his way up here. And as he works his way here, I want to remind you that if you are looking to see what these guys and gals like about driving and riding in an Indy car, why not go to the Indy Racing Experience? Thanks for coming. And see what that's like. Take a ride in a 2-seater. You can go to IndyRacingExperience.com, find a date, and in the promo box put DK1. I don't know where they came up with that one. Or you can call the office, talk to Sean. The number is 317-243-7171. Tell her the same thing, see if she throws you out or hangs up on you. I don't know which. But do it. It's an exciting thing. You'll really enjoy it. If you have or would like to have a vintage car, I know where you can get one, and I also know if you've got one where you can get it restored. The Grand King Shops at 8155 Crawfordsville Road. You can give them a call, tell them what you want, what you have, or what you're looking for. The number is 317-820-3595. If it's time to buy insurance for your home, your car, your commercial property, do what I and a lot of people have done. Call Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. He's a guy, when we have a problem, he stands with you. He doesn't say, well, go away and call me back next week. Give him a call. Talk to him. 317-248-0070. That's Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. And if you haven't subscribed yet to Speed Tour, you need to do it. Just go to svra.com and subscribe. It's a great magazine and a lot of good stories, a lot of good pictures, and even tell you when you go to the track, you go out to the race where you can go to dine, the best places to go. And the next event for them will be this 27th of February to March the 1st at Sebring International in Sebring, Florida. If you're anywhere in the area, I highly recommend you go check it out. My next guest is a gentleman that I like seeing here. I hope I never have to call him because I got a problem. But if you call the man, you get the best. He has been told the last 2 or 3 times that the duet showed up, the Simpson and Voyles comedy team. Bill mentioned that a couple times, and Jim tried to get under the table to avoid, but it didn't work. But as we know, Bill passed away rather suddenly. And he was a character. I've known him for a lot of years, but not near as good as Jim, so I thought I would invite him in to talk a little bit about it, do a little tribute to Bill Simpson. Please welcome Mr. Jim Voyles. How did you get hooked up? I mean,
Before I get started, I just saw Mr. Manning. The last time I saw him, he was wearing a woman's hat, drunk at the Kentucky Derby. And I had to remind him of that.
and I'm sure
He was driving for Foyt, and he was in Foyt's box, and Joan and I went there, and he was dallying around with this big woman's hat on. And he's changed a big bit.
Yeah, he doesn't have it on tonight. I don't know why.
No, he doesn't have it. He has some baseball cap on.
I guess. So how did you and Bill hook up?
How did Bill and I meet? Well, there was a FBI and this is true story, and an immigration investigation where they went to his old helmet shop on 21st Street and arrested everybody there for fair to be a legal alien. They were all illegal aliens, like Bill. So that's how we met. I got a call from him. He said, "I'm in trouble. Could I come see you?" And I said, "Well, of course." And I'd never met him before. But I've met a lot of people in front of my desk that I've never met before, including politicians. So, but anyway, that's how we met, and I represented him through that. We got him out of the mess, and then we became friends. It was a funny situation because I don't generally become friends with my clients, but we had the common interest in automobile racing. And the next major event turned out, and we stayed in touch with each other after the case was over, and I'd see him at races, but the next major event was the Dale Earnhardt situation when Dale died at Daytona, and Bill got falsely accused of having a seatbelt that was defective. And so I was at the race, and Joan and I left the race. Didn't know that Earnhardt had perished in that, because it looked like a pretty simple wreck at the time. Had I seen some things that I see now when they re-show that event, that I might have known a little more. But so Bill called me when they began blaming the seatbelt for that, and he was deeply hurt over that because he and Dale were very close friends. So Bob Horn, who's a lawyer in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, an old friend of Bill's and one of his lawyers, he always had a lot of lawyers around him. Bill decided that we wanted to maybe do something about that, so we filed a defamation suit against NASCAR for defaming Bill, and we pursued that, and matter of fact, we settled it a year later at the Brickyard. That was another Simpson story. The day of the settlement, that we were meeting in federal court in front of the magistrate, Bill comes to my office early in the morning, and he's got his left ear bloody and scotch taped to the side of his head. And I said, "Bill, what's the problem?" He said, "Well, I was at Kelly's last night, and somebody hit me over the head with a beer bottle." So I said, "You want to go to med check or something?" No. He says, "I'm fine." And so we went over and met with Mike Helton and everybody, and we resolved the case. But that was a typical Bill.
I saw him one day, and I don't remember when, at the Speedway. His face was all cut.
Oh, he looked like a Chinese guy.
And I said, "What in the world happened here?" He said, "I fell down the stairs."
That was bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
He got in a fight.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. He looked that way for about a week or two. I got a call that night. He was not arrested, so that was one good thing, but he didn't look good.
Well, I know he didn't. He said, "Oh, I fell down
He had
the
a
stairs."
face for radio. That's why we come to this program.
Yeah, you're right. And, a lot of people don't realize, you see him, and he could blow up just bang for
really
no particular, yeah. But really, what people don't know is he did a lot of help for a lot of people that nobody knew.
No, he was a very, what we call kind of a big word, but it's a dichotomy. He is, in one place, he was the most generous, conscientious, nice human being I've ever met. On the other hand, on a bad day, he was obnoxious, boorish, horrible. But he was a package deal, so you got it all. We never had a fight. We never had an argument. We disagreed a couple of times, but we never, I think he respected me, why I have no idea, but I respected him as a result of, he was a mechanical genius on one side. He was an entrepreneur. He was a very complex human being and was a great friend of mine.
Some of the things prior, a couple of days, he didn't come here on a Tuesday, and I called him on Wednesday. And he said, "I want to show you my house, and I'll show you when I feel better. I'm not feeling that good," say. But I could call him and he'd answer. When he had his first stroke, I called you because I had heard he was up, I think, in Mayo. And I called you and I said, how's he doing? He said, doing all right. Call him. I'm not going to call him. I call him. You'll have a little trouble talking to him or understanding him. I said, hell, for 3 drinks you can't understand him, so that's no different.
Well, that's another story. Right after the stroke, Robin Miller called him. And Robin Miller tried to talk to him, and Bill could barely talk. He was trying to formulate the words. And Miller hung up on him and says, I'll call you back when you're sober. I was, no, Robin, he had a stroke.
You know, you hear the stories, and he's been here a number of times telling the stories, and when he hurt himself drag racing, he came up with the idea of the parachute to save his own neck.
Right.
And he and a friend of his put it on the back of a car and took it down the hill and pulled it, and they ended up in a nursery. I said, how'd that turn out? Went to jail. Oh, really? What a surprise that was.
Yeah. Well, we had we used to go to a lot of races together with Bruce Hinesley and I. We'd fly with Bill. And that, matter of fact, in the Iowa race last year, which was a terrible day at the racetrack, we got home at 4 in the morning. And we brought Mike Hall and Melinda home and Sarah Fisher because Sarah missed her flight. And so we all came back at 4 in the morning, and it was just kind of a constant, interesting conversation from the minute we left Iowa till we got home, as it always was.
You know, again, I say for people who didn't really know him, and again, I knew him, but I didn't know him.
Oh, you knew him.
Yeah, well, you remember when he had...
He wasn't very deep. He was shallow up on certain days.
Yeah. When he had his store, when he had Simpson Racing, had his store in Speedway. I was in there one day, and he was there. I said, he had a white T-shirt with a Simpson safety belt on it. I said, that'd be neat to have. He said, how many you want? I don't know. A dozen. He gave me a dozen. I gave them away. For 2 or 3 years, there was people wearing these T-shirts at the Speedway. I had run out, and I wanted to get some more, and I couldn't find him, but I found a gal that worked for him, Desiree, whatever her name was. And I said,
Desiree Wilson?
Oh, no. I can't forget what her name was. I can't remember. But she said, what do you need? I said, I want to get a hold of Bill. I want to get some of those T-shirts with the red seatbelts. He said, oh, I'll take care of it. Next time I saw him, he comes marching up. He said, what the hell did you do? I don't know. She asked me what I wanted, was looking for you for. Don't ever go to him, you come to me. And he picks up the phone, he called the secretary and said, I want 2 or 3 dozen of those shirts here tomorrow. And by God, they were.
Well, that's just the way he was. Very generous, a very generous person that you never saw the
Right.
generosity.
Right.
Christmas time, and a number of the women that were close friends of Bill are here, and people that I know, but he would go around at Christmas time, just knock on strangers' doors and hand out money at Christmas for people that weren't doing very well. You never heard about any of that, but he did that.
Yes. And the last time he was here, and I said something, I said, well, it's kind of expensive. I don't care about money. How do I care? He reached in his pocket, and I'm thinking, well, I guess you
That's
don't
because he
care.
had more of it than you and I.
A lot more than probably all of us put together, except for Howdy, of course. But
No, he was extremely generous, and he had that interesting side that he was very entrepreneurial. So he would see a project, and he wouldn't just see it the way it was, but he'd see it down the road. He envisioned shopping centers and buildings, and all of that out in Brownsburg was kind of his early idea that's on Northfield Drive. That was Bill's imagination, and then it became reality. And he's done that in Charlotte. He's done it here. And one of his biggest coups I always thought were funny, at Raceway Park, he owned all that parking next door. He bought that in the, I think, late 60s, early 70s, and he kept it, and that's where everybody during the drags would park. He just happened to buy the ground, but he knew what was going to be there, and he knew how the park could use it.
And what he didn't use for parking, he had a farmer farm, so he made a couple of bucks off of that.
Correct.
I mean, and what he owns, if people knew, you go, geez, Louise. I didn't get to see his house, obviously. Didn't make it through, but, you know, the guy was always thinking. You'd think he's 78, 79 years old. It's time to back up. No. Has that project that he did down in Mooresville that they wouldn't let him build here, is it done?
Oh, it's, yeah, just about, I think another 6 months or so it'll be finished, and it's marvelous.
But it's pretty much all rented, what's there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, he generally would not build anything that he didn't have already lined up for a tenant or something to use, so.
And you look at that and you see what he was, as you said, an engineering genius. The way he designed his helmets, how he tested them,
Right.
how he proved beyond any shadow of a doubt that there was nobody that came even close to what he built.
Well, he's still punishing me because I'm one of the trustees that's managing his estate, so I'm still being punished.
Probably sitting
So
up
much
there.
for our friendship.
Yeah. He's probably sitting up there with a cocktail saying,
I think he's here tonight. He's always been part of this show with me, so I truly miss him.
I do too. 'Cause
I have
always-
nobody to make fun of anymore.
Yeah. Oddly enough, when I talked him into getting you to come in, he said, well, this won't, and you said, this won't go. Yeah, people are asking, when are you going to get him back? When are they coming back?
Well, when we left the last show, that's what he told me. He called me up the next day and said, we should take that on the road, that act of ours. He said it'd be an audience of 2.
Well, now you are a car fanatic, a race fanatic. You have a few cars in your garage.
I do.
And you were involved in 16th Street Speedway as well.
I was.
And
Another loser. No, it was a terrific experience. I mean, it really was. I'm very grateful to my wife, whose idea that was. And
Really?
she didn't sign the banknote. I did.
And incidentally, in case you don't know, Joni, she's sitting over here. There she is. So,
No, you don't want to bring her up. You don't want to bring her. This is a clean show.
who's taking care of the animals? He had a zoo of his own.
Yes, the young woman who ran the farm is still taking care of it, and part of the estate is to take care of some of that for her. So they're being well taken care
Oh,
of.
I'm sure. And
Everybody needs camels.
of course. And it's amazing. You know the guy.
They're kind of the native to Indiana.
Yeah.
If you live in the dunes.
Yeah, but I made that comment. He says, for Christ's sake, it gets down to 20 degrees in the desert. I said, oh yeah, but not 24 hours of it.
Yeah.
They'll be all right. I said,
Yeah.
okay, so you say. But you think of that and what he had, what he did, and you think, Bill Simpson, really? But he
I
loved
told
them.
you, he's a dichotomy.
Yeah. He was serious. He loved the animals.
Yeah, he did.
In fact, he came in here one night and said, I got to leave a little early. I said, why? He said, there's a donkey or some off-the-wall animal is being delivered. So off he went.
Yeah.
I don't know where he got all that stuff, but to think that the majority of what he accomplished, what he did, all started with trying to save his own neck, ending up in a nursery because the parachute work picked the car up.
Right. Well, we were very opposite people, and but had that kind of connection, I think, through motorsports that kept us together, and we both enjoyed life and had a lot of fun together.
Do you remember, ask Bill what made him buy all that land around Brownsburg? And he said without any hesitation that he bought it because his dad told him, you can't make any more land. If you can do it, buy it.
Well, he always told me when he was starting out as a young guy in California that he saw that owning a building, renting it out, was a way to make money and protect assets. And so he was more interested, really. I mean, he was interested in his helmet business, but he made probably a lot more business decisions about real estate and building things than anybody would ever expect.
Yeah, I agree. We had lunch in here one day. He said, you've been bugging me for lunch. I'll meet you at McGilvery. So we come in here, and he pulls out wasn't a flip phone, his phone. Yes, he said, you asked me out there, what am I doing? So he showed me a pond near where he's building now, I guess. I said, what's that? He said, I'm trying to buy that land. I want to use the pond as part of the beauty of the thing. Did he ever buy it? I don't know if he bought it.
I don't know about that, but I mean, what he would do, he would drive around, he'd see ground that he believed would be advantageous to own so that he could build something or do something with it. And so he was always thinking kind of ahead that way.
You remember when he bought the drive-in theater property?
Yes.
And he wanted to do something with it, and of course Claremont gave him all kinds of crap, so he had a better idea. You builders that are digging up concrete and asphalt, I got a place to dump it. And he did.
He made it into a dump.
Yep. Suddenly things changed.
Right.
I don't know why exactly.
Just the way Bill was.
If you outfoxed him in something, you did a job. Because I don't know of too many people that outfoxed him on anything that I know of.
Only the police.
Yeah, well, didn't you call him one night?
No, I never called him. He called me.
Well, he called you one night.
No.
It wasn't that long ago.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I thought you called him you're in Hendricks Counties. What in the world do you do? I just wanted to know I'm in your old home. Something like that. I can't remember the story, but it was.
Yeah, Billy was an interesting guy.
To say the least. I went by his shop when I was looking for somebody on 21st Street when he had the property buildings back there. I pulled in to meet them, and I look over, and the garage door is open, and he's working. And it was a Sunday. I stopped. I said, what in the world are you doing? Well, these smart guys that work for me have been cheating on making the suits, fire suits. I got all of them back, and I'm redoing them properly. And he made, I think he said 180 or something, some ridiculous number. Remade them and gave them everybody for free.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
He would do that. He was a perfectionist in certain aspects of his business. And if he thought it was made wrong or incorrect, he would take the time to go do it himself to make sure it was done correctly.
When you think about what he's done for the safety of motorcyclists, football, he got tired of the politics in the NFL, although a lot of guys that had his helmets said they're the best. Went after kids, and he reduced the number of head injuries dramatically with the use of his helmet.
Well, his theory was there are certainly more kids playing football than there are NFL players. You got 36 teams, and you got like 5,000 Pop Warner League kids, and so he went after the market that he thought was more advantageous, which it was.
And it was very successful. I know several people whose kids wore the helmet and said, boy, it's nice. And you
great.
remember Jeff Saturday saying it was the lightest thing he'd ever worn. It was the most protective.
Oh, it was a great helmet. My grandkids wore it.
Yeah. And he said, I never had a headache after the game. Well, then he didn't get hit hard enough. Apparently.
That's true.
It's hard to think because I sometimes sit here and look over and I see the lovely ladies sitting there. Marty and Janae were with him. Oh, he was here for 3 or 4 months. He'd come in every Tuesday.
Right.
His dog liked hot dogs, so he'd bring the pooch in here, and Marty'd feed it a hot dog. And then Bill take it outside to get rid of the hot dog, I guess. I don't know who did. And when you watch him with that dog, you think, this guy did all this, and he falls all over himself over that dog.
Oh, he did. He loved the dog. He absolutely loved the dog. I think he liked dogs more than people.
No doubt, because the dog couldn't say anything stupid that would irritate him.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
I understand that there's to be a memorial in May at the Speedway.
Correct. On I think it's May 6th, which is a Wednesday, we're going to have a memorial for him at the museum at 6 o'clock. The museum has been very kind to put together a room for us in the back of the museum where people can kind of remember Bill, and it's just before the Grand Prix, so there'll be people in town, and that's kind of our purpose to do that.
I think, not the last time, but 2 or 3 times before his last time here, he had said he was inducted into a Hall of Fame in England. I believe it was in England. He said,
he was in jail in England.
Well, probably that too.
No, I don't.
Well, I believe he got inducted in the Hall of Fame. He said, but I'm not physically capable of, I couldn't go, I couldn't be there.
Well, he was inducted to all the Hall of Fames in this country that are important.
Oh, absolutely.
And belongs in there, absolutely.
No question. He probably saved more motorcyclists and race car drivers from serious injury than anybody in history ever.
I believe that to be true.
And most guys who wore his equipment. And Whit Bazemore, he had his fire suit hanging up in his shop or his office out there. His car caught on fire and it burned the legs of the suit, but didn't harm him.
Didn't burn him.
Anything. Didn't do a thing.
Right.
So the man knew what he was doing. He had a plan. He lived it out, made it happen. And the sad part is some guys tried to take advantage of it, and that hurt them big time, because I know he was going to do something for the guys that work for him until he found that out, and that ended that.
Right.
So,
we were an odd couple, but we
at least.
we really enjoyed each other's company and had a lot of laughs together.
Oh, I'm sure. I can well imagine. Flying 3 or 4 hours with him had to be a treat just
well, it's survive. He always showed up and everybody said, how come you bring your lawyer with you all the time, Well, we're just coming here to look at the race, that's all.
What attracted you to motorsports? I mean, you're an attorney. To be where you are and accomplish what you have takes a lot of time and effort, but how do you find time for racing?
Well, that's easy.
Okay.
I came to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for my first race in 1953, and I've seen every race but one. Jones got me by 2. But my uncle, George Ober, was the former judge in Speedway and was also my law partner, and also with Mr. Holman started USAC in 1955. So I got an interest in motorsports through him. I saw the television broadcast of the 500 in 1949 that Channel 6 did, sitting at my house here in Indianapolis. My dad was in the military. He was a full bird colonel, and we traveled. We moved from here to Michigan City to Springfield, Illinois, where I ended up with my high school and then my college in Illinois, and then came back here in 64 to go to law school, and went to Indiana University, and then I've been practicing law since then. As I graduated. I think I graduated.
Well, look around and see if there's a thing hanging on the wall that says so.
I went to Motel 6 and spent the night.
Okay. Even I didn't graduate from that. What steered you to defense?
That's another interesting story. The firm that I went with, which was where my uncle was, they were probably the premier criminal lawyers in Indiana at the time. There's an old case. Connie Nicholas was a woman who was accused of killing the president of Eli Lilly. And they defended that case, and there was just a series of history. Charlie Sims, one of my mentors, and his father, Frank Sims, defended that case. And by the time I got there for practicing law, they were slowing down. They were in their early 50s, but they were slowing down, and I think I kind of inherited that, and it just fit into my personality. I like people, and I like trying cases, and I think that's kind of how it happened, but kind of by accident, really.
Do you knowingly defend somebody who's guilty?
What? Do you know Bill Simpson?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but his was falling downstairs and hitting people upside the head.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting piece. I get that asked all the time. There's a book a friend of mine wrote called "How Could You Defend These People?" Well, if you don't understand our Constitution and what lawyers do, then it's going to be hard for me to explain this. But we all take an oath, and our oath is to do the best we can possibly do for our clients. And what we do is really make sure that the state presents their case beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury or to a court. And if the state can't do that, then the client is entitled to be released from that charge. So that's what I do. It's not a moral situation. It's not, oh, gee, I don't think I could defend that person. That's just not me, because I took an oath like a doctor. You think when Lee Harvey Oswald went to Parkland Hospital after he allegedly shot the president, that the doctors said, sorry, we're not going to work on you today because you shot our president. Well, hell no, they didn't. They got right in there and tried to save his life. And that's what lawyers, doctors, accountants, we take these oaths, we take them seriously, and that's what we're supposed to do. So.
And I might add, for anybody who might not know, this gentleman is one of the best in the business. And I hope I ever
I don't know
never
about
have
that.
to. I hope I never have to call you for anything.
No, there's a lot of great lawyers in this country, and there's a lot of great lawyers in this city. And so, you know, I may have been at the right place at the right time that certain cases were in our office, but there's just a lot of great lawyers in Indianapolis.
And somebody, a great lawyer in Indianapolis, was called to Detroit when there was a fisticuff in the grandstands at a basketball game.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That's another great story. We go up to Detroit. I was representing Steve Jackson from the Pacers in that the brawl case, and I walk in, and of course these guys are 6'10", 6'11". I'm walking with the team because there's Jermaine O'Neal, Tinsley, Steve, and all these guys. And the security guard, as we're going to the back end of the courtroom, asked me if I was the point guard. I said, if I'm the point guard, this team's in worse trouble than they are already.
And I've talked to you on several occasions, and you had a case out in New York or out in the East Coast somewhere.
New Jersey. I tried a 4-month murder trial in Hackensack, New Jersey. And my wife loved this because I'd fly home every Friday night, and I'd fly back every Sunday for 4 solid months from September to December. A young man was from Greenwood, accused of murder, had been in jail for 2 years before I got in the case, and we brought him home. He just didn't like New Jersey.
Yeah, I can't understand why.
No.
And another case that I'm sure everyone is aware of, that you got somebody out of the pokey, Mike Tyson.
Well, I was a kind of a fixture in that case. The real lawyers in the case were Vince Fuller from Williams & Connolly in Washington, and Kathleen Beggs, one of his partners. And I was local counsel in that case, but it was really tried by Vince and Kathleen. I didn't get it. I was in the courtroom. I sat next to Mike every day. I brought turkey sandwiches and Perrier water for Vince, but I didn't get a chance to argue in front of my classmate, Judge Gifford, but that's the way it goes.
But you did, I'm sure they asked you what you thought, or you got to...
They didn't always listen to me.
Well, really?
But, I tried to tell them. Joan knows, because I'd come home at night upset, angry, pissed off about things that I thought they should do. They didn't do, but that's trial work. And then I spent a number of years with him because I stayed with him and represented him through his problem in Delaware, and then also I did the appeal with Alan Dershowitz when we did his appeal.
What do you think of Professor Dershowitz? I love to listen to him.
He would love to be on your program because when those keel lights really got to him. There's another great Dershowitz story. We were going out. We were leaving our Indiana Supreme Court on the issue of a bail hearing for Mike. And as we walked out, there's all the television cameras and everybody at the top of the stairs at the Supreme Court, which is in our state house and on the 3rd floor. And he says to me as we walk out, I'm not going to say anything to him. And I said, good idea. There's no reason to talk to him. Then the lights go on, and the little red light come on the camera, and he says, I'll be right back. There you go. So.
Well, from what I hear when I see him, he certainly has spent 50 years studying the Constitution, that there's probably not too many people that know more about it than he does.
Oh, he's a very, very smart guy, and he and his brother were on the appeal with me, and along with a wonderful lawyer here in Indianapolis. They were clerks together for the U.S. Supreme Court for Justice Goldberg. And that's kind of how I got in the case, because the lawyer from Indianapolis was his former clerk partner in Washington, and he was involved, Lee McTurnan, and I stayed on the case because I'd been local counsel with Vince. So,
are you going to be going regularly to races as you did when you got in Bill's jet and took off?
I will. We're already got tickets. I'm going to fly with 200 of my best friends on Southwest to go to St. Pete. It's different than flying with Bill.
Yeah, you can talk to Tony there.
Well, I was talking to Bruce about it. See, we got to go to Iowa. We always went to Iowa together. We always went to St. Louis together. I said, now we got to drive. No, we'll figure out a way to get there. But yeah, I try to go to as many as I can. There's people I know in the paddock that have become friends over the years. Chip is a very, very close friend. Rogers, I probably have to genuflect now because he owns the Speedway, but Roger's a friend. And you know, as a result of being a lawyer, I guess, that I've met people in the paddock. And I never was able to get in the paddock as a kid. I was always on kind of the outside. So when I get into the paddock, I look around and I think, what the hell am I doing here? You know, why am I in here? But they've always been very nice to me, and I really enjoy it. And we try to bring our grandkids and our kids to make them interested in motorsports.
Well, when are you leaving for St. Pete?
The 13th, Friday.
Oh, I'll be down there. I'll save you some space.
Save me a spot.
Yeah.
Save me a spot.
I'm leaving on Wednesday.
I don't have the luxury. I have.
Yeah.
I still have a working environment at my office.
I understand.
That I have to. We just finished with the Attorney General's case, and so we're still working on stuff like that. So it keeps me out of the pit area.
Probably keeps you out of a lot of places. You're too damn busy to get there.
I belong out of a lot of places. I was in those places with Bill.
Yeah. Yeah, and they probably still.
I was just a sightseer.
Yeah. They still probably connect the two of you. Walk in and say, "Uh-oh, watch this guy." They don't. Somebody might not realize Bill's no longer with us.
Well, as Joan and I were driving out here tonight, he really is with me. I have lots of close friends. I grew up with 14 guys from high school that we still see each other on a regular basis, and they come to the race. But Bill was integral to us. I talked to him every day. I mean, whether I wanted to or not. He and I would call each other and talk. He thought Joan was his real sister. And he didn't have a sister, so she became his sister. And so when he couldn't get me, he called her. And sometimes he'd call her before he called me, like he did one morning at 3 in the morning in Las Vegas when they were introducing him to the police in Las Vegas. He thought that was important that Joan should know that.
Well, he knew the inside of a lot of the county and city facilities, to say the least.
One of the best stories is he called me on, it was the first day of qualifications a number of years ago, and he said, "Are you going to qualifications?" I said, "Yeah. What time are we going to meet?" He said, "I'm in jail." And I said, "Oh, bullshit." And he goes, No, I'm really in jail." He was in Danville. He said, "Get a hold of Tice Carlson. I got to get out of here." I said, "Okay."
Well, you sit and think about it. I mean, I was on a crew that he was driving when he was out practicing, and he comes in and turn 4, he pulls in the pit area, and I said, "What the hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be out." Done. He said, "I was thinking about something I should have done, or a call I made, or whatever it was." He said, "I'm never getting in the car again." He got out, and he never did.
Well, he was smart.
Oh, yeah. He said, "If I don't
Some
do that,"
people aren't that smart.
That's true. He said, "I'm going to hurt myself or somebody else. Time to quit."
Right. Yeah, he really had that mind that was working all the time on both his business, his safety information that he was trying to get to other people. And so, yeah, I'm a fascinating person.
Oh,
a fascinating
without question.
person. Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say that those who knew him and those who saw him do miss him and will miss him.
Well, yeah, we went to Long Beach together right after his stroke. And I'd never been to Long Beach. He, chided me so many times about going. I said, "Hey, I got to work. I'm still working." And he says, "Well, we're going to go to Long Beach." So we flew out with Chip. And he was shortly after his stroke, like 3 weeks after his stroke. And, I was watching him to make sure he could cross the street and, just take care of him. But, he told me, well, you don't go this way. You go this way and do this, do this, do this. So, and I'd call him, and he'd call my room. He says, why aren't you coming down for breakfast? I said, I am coming down for breakfast. Well, he said, why aren't you down here now? I was like, holy shit, why'd I come?
Well, I guess maybe I'm glad I wasn't that good a friend of his, so I didn't have that problem.
No. Yeah, it was a treat. And yeah, we just did so many interesting things together. And Chip I talked to Chip today and told him I was going to be on the program. And I mean, there are just so many wonderful stories that I have lived through Bill. Laughs, tragedies, I mean, all kinds of things that he was able to share with me in a kind of an intimate way that I'm not sure he shared with lots of people.
Probably not. Wow.
And I was the beneficiary of all that.
And a few other goodies.
Oh, yeah. I think I was the foil in this.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have enjoyed having you here, and the Simpson Voyles comedy team is still going strong with the Voyles part of it.
Well, I miss my partner very much, so anytime you get indicted, you can call me and we could work out a different program.
Well, thank you.
Well, little Al's doing good.
Well, I'm sure he is. I hope.
I know so. He's doing very well. Very well.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and especially bringing your bride with you. We haven't seen her in a while.
I'm on home detention.
Oh.
I have an ankle bracelet. We go together everywhere.
Good move. But fortunately for her, I can't do what Bill did. I can't call her. I don't know how to get a hold of her. But
she's very easy. You can find it on all these underpasses or numbers. No. Bill had her number memorized.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I appreciate you.
Even after his stroke, he could do her number.
Well, I said I knew him well enough that I'd call him and he'd answer the phone. And I called him when he was down after his son passed away. And I didn't know what was going on. I called him and he said, I'll call you back. And by golly, the next day he did.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I lived through some wonderful times and some real tragedies with him, and that was a tragedy. And the Earnhardt was a tragedy because it was so damning to him that somebody could even think that he would make a defective part, that it was and people would call him up and threaten to kill him and all kinds of bullshit that happened that he had to live through. And so it was a case that both Bob Horn, the lawyer from Jackson Hole, and I took real to heart, that we were going to do whatever we could to protect Bill.
And you did, yes. As you said, he and Dale were very good friends. They'd go hunting out.
Oh, yeah. They were very close. Very close.
He said he told Dale numerous times, you're not strapped in that thing right to start with. You're going to hurt yourself. And
well, we ended up doing what I call a forensic autopsy on the car in Concord. We hired our seatbelt experts. They had theirs. And we spent a whole day in Concord going through that car, which hadn't changed since the moment of the wreck. So it was a long day and a very difficult day. But we established in our minds exactly what Bill had always told me, and we ultimately resolved it. So,
yeah, that did shake him. I talked to him after that. He wasn't happy about it. Of course, losing a good friend like that,
correct,
a hunting partner of.
Well, when you lose a good friend and then you're blamed for it, that's double agony.
Plus, he told me that he had somebody, or you guys did, analyze the crash, and he didn't hit the wall all that hard. It wasn't.
I think it was less than 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
in the actual impact. And I saw it today. Matter of fact, they were showing it in comparison to the wreck of Ryan Newman's. And as you said, if you look at the wreck, and if you've been to racetracks and seen wrecks, that doesn't even hardly compare to the kind of wrecks that we've seen in those cars.
Yes, and by the way, if you hadn't heard, the last I heard from Florida was Ryan is in serious condition, but he's awake, alert, and talking to his family as of this afternoon.
Right.
Well, as I said, Jim, I appreciate you taking the time to come here, talk about him. In my mind, he was a great guy. I've never met anybody smarter than him, I don't think, engineering-wise. But I've been to his shop many times.
I'm glad you qualified that.
Yeah. He called me up.
Common sense some days was missing.
Yeah. And he called me and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm going here. You got time? Stop by. I want to show you something." So he go in. He showed me a new piece of
drop
equipment.
test.
Yeah, he get a new piece of equipment. He said, "Look at this." And, I mean, the guy was phenomenal. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to do it, and he traveled the world to find what he needed to make what he was putting out the best.
Yeah, he did,
And
for sure.
So there's only. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was my pleasure to be here to share some of our memories together. They were special to me and special to my family, and it's times I can't get back, but I can think about them a lot, and I do.
Oh, sure you do. Well, I appreciate you coming here, stopping by. I know you're busy, got a lot of things to do. I read in the paper and on the news, a lot of people are in trouble, so you won't run out of work anytime soon.
I hope not.
But thanks for being here.
Pleasure. See you.
The best friend of Bill Simpson, Mr. Jim Voyles.
I need cars. I have to buy cars.
Next week, we will be here. I have several people who said, yeah, we're available, but I got to confirm that. But strangely enough, yesterday I couldn't get into my website, but today I could. I don't know why. It opened, poof. And then I had my good friend Will said, I can get in there. I don't know how he could and I couldn't, but he did and made it work. So I'm going to try and catch him one of these days to show me how to get in the way it used to be, because I used to be able to do it. I want to mention something to you. On March the 7th, there's going to be a roast and toast. It's an IRMA event, a fundraiser. And the poor guy, I can't wait for this. The poor guy that's going to get roasted and toasted is none other than Mr. Howdy Bell. Now, foolishly, because nobody else wanted to do it, they invited me to speak it. Oh, boy. Oh, good. So if you're thinking about something on March the 7th, it's at Flannery Buchanan, right over here. I didn't realize I got yelled at by a guy. So, there's a big meeting room back there. I never saw it. Hell, I went in and said, Nami, Nami, and I left. I didn't know it was. So that's where it's going to be across from here. Food is being catered by O'Reilly's. There's a $25 charge at the door, and there's going to be an auction. And I think Shirley has committed Howdy to be part of the auction. She wants to get rid of him. So he'll be up for auction. About $12 ought to do it. 15, okay, 15. So if you are available now, the big thing of the night, Nina, the big thing of the night, February 26th, this Saturday, Beep Line will be here. What did I say? Oh, that's close. This Saturday, the 22nd, Beep Line will be here. You see this guy third from the right, he's looking at birds. Everybody else is looking up, he's looking at birds. But if you haven't heard them yet, you got to come and see them. They're good, they're fantastic, and their manager will be here. Their marketing manager or booking manager, she will be here prancing about, signing autographs because they can't sign. So if you get a chance, the 22nd, come on out, have dinner, listen to music, have a couple of adult beverages. You'll enjoy the night. Until next week, Don K. saying thanks for being here. Thanks to Darren and Dalton for being here, and, of course, Jim Voyles. Till next week, good night.